I can remember a time growing up in eastern North Carolina. Things were not always easy. I used to see my dad struggling to take care of a family of 4. Every now and again, he would go to Mr. Lewis Cooper store off of Highway 17 South to take care of his children. And many times, the food that he would take would be greasy. And no matter what he did, he would take that fat meat and boil it, and he would put it on a pot. But the fat meat was still greasy. The time in America has come. Many men are frustrated. They're frustrated with the diets of America. They're frustrated with the foods. And they're frustrated with the attitudes. Oh, if I can get on the wings of an eagle, if I can get on the wings of a Delta, if I can get on the wings of a United, if I can get on the wings of a Southwest Air, oh, if I can get on the wings, there's a problem rooming in America, and because of that problem, many men are saying to heck with it, because the fat meat is greasy. I want you to sit back and listen to the show on the day, because the fat back or the fat meat, the fat meat, men want to go get somewhere or go somewhere where they can get that lean Brazilian meat, meat that's clean, meat that's pure, meat that's free of additives, because the fat meat,
for me, man, like I said, once I ran across women who were fit, friendly, and feminine, whoo.
You can't shame me about going to Thailand. You can't shame me about going to Africa,
right,
or Portugal, or Morocco.
Right.
Them days are over. They're over.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of black women don't believe the fat meat is greasy.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, you'll find out for sure. Yes, I am from North Carolina. I am country, and I embrace all that. So,
I'm gonna use that. Damn, the fat meat is greasy, but you know what? It goes back also. Are relationships in modern America toxic? The topic of this show tonight will be more or less entitled, "Why are American relationships or Western relationships mostly toxic as it relates to the fat meat being greasy?" As you know, and I know, many men and women are not coming together to consummate happy, powerful, vibrant relationships. And because of that, I heard my friend, Brother Spencer, say last week something that resonated in my head, that the fat meat is greasy. Because the fat meat is greasy, many men are saying they are tired of current relationships because they feel like a lot of times, or in many situations, nothing is ever enough. And because of that toxicity, many men are saying, you know what, let me either stay single or find love elsewhere. I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy this live Q&A on today. And we're going to talk about and look at it from a dualistic perspective. Is the fat meat greasy as it relates to not only obesity in America, but also as it relates to simple things like cooking? And if the fat meat is greasy and that's more or less permeating the current attitude in America, what can we do to bring back the times when men and women were together and when men valued women and women respected men? We're going to have a panel of diverse people tonight. And feel free to join in and share your discussion on why things like cooking is more or less being seen as a slave. So I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as we bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. As I'm your host, Seven Smalls, a.k.a. the Culture Clinician, where I'm in a city where the topography is serene, pristine, and verdant green. And whereas men, we don't agree on all things or ideologies, and we won't always agree. But we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate when the crisis is over. And I want you to remember this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. I'm going to drop that kosher 5 for your mind on tonight. And we're going to have a power-packed show on more or less trying to look at things from an anecdotal perspective on why relationships are the way they are. Be well.
4 in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
All right. This is going to be a power-packed show on tonight. But before we start this show on tonight, I want you guys to get the likes up, like, share, and subscribe. And at some point in this show, please cash out $7 Smalls. So we got to have a panel of esteemed guests, beautiful sisters, and we're going to hear it from a woman perspective, even though this channel is dedicated to the empowerment of men for the facilitation of families. We're going to hear from a woman's perspective. I'm going to ask them the question, why is the fat meat greasy as it relates to dating, diet, and relationships? So starting this powerful show will be my dear friend, Dr. O. McCoy. I call her the 6-shooter from Texas. We got my friend, Sister Kimberly, and also my dear friend, Mrs. India Kilpatrick. And we're going to have a diverse panel on tonight. But I want the women to talk about it because a lot of time in these shows, ladies, you know, people always ascertain or assume that, you know, black men hate black women, or you always talking about black women. And listen, women are saying the same thing. You know, black men love black women, but it's getting to the point that, unfortunately, some of our women are not listening, and because of that, a lot of men are divesting, and they're actually getting on the wings of an eagle, which is a Delta in the Southwest, and they're going abroad trying to find love and peace in relationships. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. O. What's wrong with relationships in America, and why is the fat meat still greasy? Unmute yourself, dear. Unmute yourself, Doc.
Okay.
There you go. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
First, I want to say thank you for always having me and Kim. You know, that's my doppelganger. You know, so me and Kim are adopted sisters. You know, so wherever one is, the other one is. So, you know, thank you for inviting us to your show.
Yes. No
you say, why is fat meat greasy? I think because the brothers have allowed it to be. You know, for so long. You know, the brothers have not told us, hey, you know, we don't like this. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't like this or that. So, you know, we are just running amok. You know, that's what I like to say about us. We're running amok. We're running out here like wild stallions and bulls, and we can wear 20 and 30-inch weave. You know, we know y'all not gonna say a word. You know, so I mean, I think that right there has some bearing on our current times. You know, when you say use the acronym, you know, it's fat meat greasy. You know why it's fat meat greasy?
No doubt. Excellent expose. Mrs. Kimberly, I want to ask you a question. Why is the fat meat greasy as it relates to diet, toxicity of mind, and also the relationships that were once vibrant in a lot of Black communities? Give me your expose, please.
Just really the breakdown in our families, in our communities. Our men were taken out of the home, essentially, and there just hasn't been any accountability held. There's just a breakdown from one generation to the other generation where anything was accepted and standards were compromised, and blurred lines of roles got mixed in, became in the mix, and it's just all this competition amongst us. That's a loaded answer to a very loaded question.
Yeah, it is loaded, and it has many dimensions to it. You know, and I know. I say there are 7 core principles that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male, and family is one of those 7 core principles. There's a crossroad in the intersection of relationships with families. You know it, and I know it, and it's caused a great strain on our communities. Now, when I look at relationships from the past, even though our people didn't have a lot, they were still together. But we're at a critical nexus in American times when simple things like cooking is seen as slavery. And because of that, a lot of men are saying, well, what am I getting married for? And listen, I want the people to listen to hear this. We're not saying that men can't cook and don't cook. We're not saying that. But what we are saying that most guys, when they get in a committed relationship, if they're going to be in a traditional relationship, that they still expect some of those things or those traditional norms that were more or less normal in the past. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think most women still expect the man to provide for them. They expect them to protect them, and some expect them to die or be ready to die at any time. But simple things like cooking now is seen as slavery, but yet you still expect a man to adhere to an old archetype. And I bring this to the discussion because there's a psychopathology, Dr. O and Kimberly, in India, in our community called the minimization of the importance of the Black man. So I want you guys to highlight that real quick. Or more or less, what's your take on why cooking is seen as slavery? I know I said a lot. It was loaded, but.
Well, this is India speaking.
How you doing, Ms. Kirkpatrick? How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that for the most part, the men have taken on the feminine role, and the women have taken on the masculine role.
Right.
And that's really a societal issue here in the West.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not limited to. I mean, it affects the Black community worse,
right? For
so many multifaceted reasons. But sorry, but I just think that I don't know. Sorry, yikes.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's not right or wrong. You just elaborate. You just elaborate. It's not right or wrong.
Yeah. So sorry about that. This is my first time doing this. So
no, you're fine. Take your time. No rush.
Yeah. So I just think that people are just lost their way because everyone is just they're just not in their own element.
Right.
I think that, you know, for most Black women, the reason why most of us aren't submissive is because most Black men don't hold the position of economic power. And so it makes it hard for Black women to rest in their femininity when we feel we can't respect the Black men to build infrastructure within our own community.
Okay.
And so I feel that a lot of feminization of the Black men is due to them just not obtaining a lot of power. And then it causes, you know, Black women to not respect them. So it's definitely not a one-way street.
Right. Dr. O, when you hear that, because, you know, and thank you, Indy, thank you for your expose. Now, some will say, yeah, go ahead, Doc. Go ahead.
You know, I just want to add to that. That goes back to thinking in terms of the 70s. You know, I like to use the 70s as a talking point, as all of us, I'm assuming most of us on here on the panel remember James in Good Times.
Yes.
And James was a very strong man. He reminded me of a lot of men in my family. And I think what a lot of modern day women of color, I find that they base the man's value on his pocketbooks.
Right.
You know, a man is much more valuable than the economics that he can bring into the house, because I think if we look at all that a man brings into the relationship besides finances, we'll find that his weight is just worth so much more. But growing up with a generation of women that I'm sure Kim, you know of, and I know of, they put in your head, you go out, you go to school, you get the money and all this and that, and everything is going to come. That's not necessarily so, when it comes to economics in the community. But just because we make more money, does that mean our men lack the respect? No. He still gets respect because he is the head of that house. He's the fist. He's the driving force of the home.
Right.
So his economics weighs much less. We put more value on that in our world because we become so materialistic when it comes to relationships. And a relationship is not about materialism. It's about the strength of that relationship. It's almost like a business. You're running a business and you got to have that foundation, which is the man. Without that man, the foundation, the structure is gone. You're just out here in the wind blowing. So you can take away the money, you still got that man. And that's what we got to realize, the value of the man in our communities, that he is much more valuable than his resources. He's much more valuable.
I would like to address that. Hello?
Yeah, hold up, Gene. I'm going to get Kimberly, then I want you to break it down for us, because I know what you're about to say. But Kimberly, what's your take on that? Because some will argue, and India, thank you for your expose, some will argue that there are white men that have lesser, they get more respect than black men, but they have lesser. So it's almost like it's a diminished image of the black man. It's like black men had to jump through more hoops just for basics. And Ball and Chef Brad, he can just become and get all the respect that he deserves. So Kimberly, give me your point of view on this particular question.
I always have a different perspective. I look at things a bit different. Women are innately competitive, and I think the prize or the competition or the game has changed. Whereas when my great grandmother was coming up, competition amongst women was who had the cleanest house, who had the prettiest flowers, who could make the best jelly, if you will, and who can take care of their husband the best. Now the competition is who can be the bossiest, bitch, what have you. So that's one thing. And then to add another layer to it, many women operate under impunity, the exemption from consequences.
Right.
And it's become a wildfire. So now what our community is doing, firefighters in wildfires, they contain it and then they let it burn itself out. And I think that's what we're trying to do, but it's not burning itself out. So that's just my take on it.
Okay. All right. Gene, I want you to break it down for the audience, man. And I think my mindset is going to be similar to yours, but give me your point of reference on this particular question.
So first of all, I agree with what Kimberly said, that women are innately competitive. And that is where the problem lies, because what's going on is that a lot of these black women, they're comparing themselves to white women and what white women have with white men. The problem with that is that they got a 400-year head start. So basically, black women are waiting, expecting black men to make up a 400-year head start and get them the things that white women have. Now, this is where I have as bad as that is, this is where I really have a problem with it on two levels. One is the fact that a lot of these same black women, especially these feminists, will go out here and get a broke white dude. He could be dumb, he could be short, he could be fat, he could be whatever. And he could be broke. And they will let him be the man of the house while they're paying all the bills. And I've proven this on my page. I've posted so many letters written by black women in interracial dating groups because people make videos about this. So I've posted so many letters where black women come into interracial dating groups talking about how this man is calling them all kinds of names, treating them like a slave, don't want to work, doing nothing. Lonnie Love is a perfect example. Lonnie Love has an unemployed, broke white boyfriend. And when she talks about him coming to the airport to pick her up in her car and take her back to her house, the black women are sighing. They're like, oh, it's so romantic. Now, if that was now remember with Mary J. Blige, when she divorced her husband, Kendu Isaacs, who was her manager for 16 years, they didn't want this guy to get a nickel from Mary J. Blige. But Halle Berry is paying two white guys, one alimony and one child support. So that's the one thing. The other thing is this whole idea about you have to build and you have to have this and you have to have that. Listen, you can throw a rock in any corner of America where there's illegal immigrants and day workers, and you can see these guys getting all the respect that, going out and working for your family warrants. They go out, they work, their wives stay home, the wife packs them a lunch, packs them all their food for the day. They come home, they're respected as men. And these guys are making peanuts. The average black man makes $45,000 a year. These guys are making nowhere near that, yet their women are showing them respect as head of household. So this whole idea that it's because, and that's immigrants from all over the world that come here and they're grinding to make a better life for themselves, but in the interim, they're making nothing. So why do we have to, basically cover this 400-year gap and make and this is the thing too, white men only make about $8,000 a year more than us on average. So it's not even about the money. It's just an excuse, man. This is an excuse. Women, they just do not want, when they see a black man, they don't see someone that they should respect, because they go to work every day and they respect their white boss. Right.
I want to add to that, Gene. You brought some excellent points. Indy, I want you to piggyback on it because this is going to be a very poignant conversation. Socialization is a powerful mechanism that can destroy the mind of a person, and we call it nature versus nurture, meaning intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. And so, India, from your perspective, there's no right or wrong because we're going to have a civil conversation. When you hear what Gene is pontificating, what clarity do you see in his comments? What clarity do you see in his comments?
Well, let's see. Okay. Well, this is the thing. When it comes to masculinity and for the man to feel, motivated to lead, isn't part of that him being able to be the breadwinner, and he takes pride in making more than his wife, so that way he can actually feel like the leader of the home. Like, let's say, for instance, okay, the average black man makes about $45,000 a year. Okay, and let's say his wife makes $30,000. Wouldn't he feel more masculine to make more than his wife, and he's the actual breadwinner, and he's the protector and the provider? Wouldn't that kind of make him feel emasculated for his wife to be making more money?
Well, I think what you got to look at, and you got to look at the historical barriers that have more or less been impacted upon black men. And, someone can make the argument that a feminine woman can actually raise that man to greatness or more or less give him the motivation. Teddy Pendergrass made a song say, "You inspire me." And so when a woman is actually operating and being feminine, she can actually inspire her man. Let's take the prototype or the archetypal Florida Evans. James Evans was poor, but she was a very supportive wife. So what happened to the Florida Evans of the world that loved their husbands in spite of until they got to that so-called pinnacle of success? Because James Evans never became that pinnacle. But James Evans had to deal with racism. He had to deal with systemic issues that more or less impacted him in a negative way. So, India, what do you say to that?
Well, this is what I realized.
Yeah, you want to hold tight, Gene. Yeah,
go ahead, sir. I'm listening.
Go ahead, India. And then Gene gonna break it in. Come in. Go ahead.
So,
India.
oftentimes, from what I've observed, when a man or a person reach a different socioeconomic level, oftentimes their taste will change. The type of women that they view becomes a little different. Well, much different than what they normally would date or marry before he reached that certain economic level. So who's to say that okay, let's say if I've nurtured and loved a guy and provided all this feminine energy to someone who's lesser than me when it comes to finances, and then he makes more than me, and then he's surrounded by, women of a different, that he can only obtain at a certain economic level. Would he then, leave me since he's on a higher level than me, in order to feed his masculinity?
So you're saying that, okay, I'm gonna have to think about that one because I got distracted. I tell you what, Gene, I'm gonna let you take that one because I got distracted. I was trying to listen and do some things while I'm trying to moderate the show.
Well, I mean,
but go ahead.
I think I'm the perfect person to answer this because I'm a guy who was married 9 years to a woman who was in medical school, the first year of medical school when I met her. And for most of the marriage, she wasn't making money. I was making money, and then she eventually made more money than I did. So this is the thing. So over 80% of Black folks are Christian, right? And more Black women are Christian than Black men. More Black women go to church than Black men. Yet, in the Bible says that the standard for headship, for being qualified to lead your family, is that you love your wife and your family as Christ loved the congregation. It says nothing about you got to make more than her. All of this, all of that stuff is made up. And it's amazing to me that people who are so-called Christians don't know this. I almost never come across a Christian that knows this or articulates it or understands it. It's not about who makes more. When my ex-wife made more than me, I wasn't emasculated. My masculinity, if that's the case, I was born broken, poor. I would never feel like a man until I had money. That money doesn't make a man. It's good to have it, but I've never felt emasculated because my wife made more money than me. For a long time, I made more money than her. I didn't feel like that made her inferior either. It's like all this emphasis on who makes more is all made up. There is no basis for it. It's certainly not a Christian basis. And if 80% of the people, 80% of Black people are saying that they're Christian, then what you're saying is contrary to what you claim to believe. So which is it? Like, is the Bible right or are people right? Who's right?
Can I add something, Gene?
Yes.
I also want to add something. My daughter is over here on the side, Kim, so that's why I keep looking. But I want to add something, when it comes to finances, because I shared my tax return with Marlon this weekend, to show him, what I earned, during the year. Now, last year, without my business, I pulled in over $95,000 last year, plus my business. I'm gonna pull in about 137 a year. So I said that to say I'm in a low percentile of us as Black women that are earning that kind of money. And if we want to keep it real, the percentage of us as Black women earning high salaries, if we want to be honest, it's not very high. The majority of Black women that are earning salaries, it's going to be anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a year. So that's not extremely high. And as Jean pointed out, Black men are either in the median area of that or hovering, close to that 50, even if they're in the labor industry or some kind of industry where they're using their hands. So a lot of times Black women are setting unrealistic expectations for Black men when they're not even achieving these goals themselves. And that's why I shared my tax return with Marlon. If I was to sit and wait around for a man to match my salary, number one, I'm probably going to have to go either outside of my race or look really to another culture, because by the time a Black man catch up to the salary that I make, that's not realistic. And the men that I share, executive seats with, they're already married. They got married years ago, whereas we as Black women, we were chasing our degrees. So I mean, that's almost impossible, to be honest.
No, I 100% get what you're saying, because let me tell you, when I was single before I met my ex-wife, now I was in the pharmaceutical industry, so I didn't wear suits or anything like that when I went to work. I went to work in shorts and a t-shirt or jeans or whatever. And, you know, I would go into the city after work. I'd hang out with my friends. I'd meet so many women. They'd be like, what do you do? And I would tell them, I made steroid antibiotics and homeopathic drugs for 21 years. But I would tell them, and since they had no reference to what type of pay I got, they would just assume that I was like a bum. Now, when I met my ex-wife, who is Cuban, she's Afro-Cuban, she's chocolate Cuban, not a white Cuban, but just from a different culture, she didn't judge me that way. You know what I'm saying? And so when she found out, she was in medical school already, and when she found out how much money I made, we were shopping for engagement rings. You know what I'm saying? And back then, that was 1999. I made $45,000 in 1998. You know what I'm saying? I've made over $100,000 at least eight years since then, since 2000. But people would look at me black women would look at me because I had the shirt and the t-shirt and the jeans or the shorts. Now, when I got married, I paid for my wedding. I did the whole wedding because she was in medical school in Iowa. I paid for my wedding. I paid for my honeymoon. I bought a house. I bought her a car. She had no car note. You know what I'm saying? I paid off all her credit card debt. And all these women are like, pretty much, I thought you were a bum. It's like, no, I'm not a bum. But they have it in their mind that there's no way, unless I guess you're wearing a fancy suit or something, they think that you're not making any money. And I mean, a lot of these women, I'm looking at them and I'm making more money than they are. And on top of that, I was making about $500 a week just refereeing basketball games on top of my salary. You know, so they underestimate us all the time. Well, anyway, go ahead.
We really do, you know, and if we, because part of my reason for showing Marlon my tax return, because I was going to do a challenge for all these wealthy Black women of color. I wanted them to show tax returns. You don't have to show your address. Let's just put our tax returns out there and we'll see who's really making the money that they're requiring Black men to make. It's not realistic. It's not realistic.
But they even if this is the thing, you're right. It's unrealistic, but they assume that a guy who's making money looks a certain way. Now, just because you were kind enough to disclose, I'm going to tell you what. Now, I make $130 an hour. I make $130 an hour. I walk around in sneakers and sweats, and because that's what I do. I mean, these people, they are willing to pay me for what I make $130 an hour. So sometimes I get women, I'm talking to them, and they think because I'm a personal trainer that they make more money than me. Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. You think you do, but no, you don't.
Right.
You know, they're just always assuming. And why does a relationship have to be about money all the time? Like just everything is money.
Right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes, I was going to say, you know, for us, our situation is unique. So it's not about what we're making. It's about how we're investing in one another and investing in our communities. And that's why I feel so connected with Dr. O, because I know she takes her resources and she invests back into the community. If you are a lady who is up in that high percentile making that money, my question to you is, what are you doing to build up your Black man? Period. That's it. And that's that. That's my only concern. That's my purpose. We don't have that mindset. It's all about us. We get what we need, and then we're by ourselves. And now we want the men to step in. And that's just not fair. And I don't blame their perspective. I don't blame them going to Brazil or wherever else, because they have feelings too. And they get tired of things too. They don't have to deal with all that.
Right.
I just want to add one thing, you know, if, and Marlon, you know, this is true. And one thing about me is I'm going to be always extremely honest, because can't nobody live my life but me. So not a wealthy man. And I've said this over and over. My husband's credit score was a 538, but what I did is I added him to my credit cards. I added him to all my established credit I had, and my husband's credit score is a 705 right now. And a lot of these independent Black women, theirs is still in the 500s. I mean, you got to be a team. If he bring in $40,000 a year, that's $40,000 more than what I had. We need to get out of this old thing. It's things. It's a person. A person adds substance to you. When you're in a relationship, that adds value to you. Society see you different. You can't go in there wanting a man already built and created, that's just not realistic for us. That's just like when I go get a house, one of my houses. It's going to be something within this house that I'm going to need to fine tune. It's not going to be ready made. It's going to be something in the yard. I don't like this. Let me fine tune it a little bit until I get it to go with my flow, if that makes sense.
Can I step in? Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Alex.
Hi, Alexandra. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. Sorry, I came in a little late in the conversation. So
yes.
A pleasure to meet you, beautiful ladies. Hi, Moses.
Hi, dear.
So I just want to give you my perspective. I'm a Latina. I'm a single mom. My kid's dad is African-American. I've always dated African-American. That's just, for me, there's nothing better, right? Okay, so I'll leave that there. But what I found, and I'm totally in agreement with you in that as a woman, right, we have to build our men. We have to support them. And I've been blessed to have a six-figure salary for over 10 years. For a few years, I had a double six-figure salary. I was very blessed. And so with my kid's dad, I put him through school, helped him, I covered the expenses while he was going to become an EMT. That didn't work out. Okay, move on. I did that again with my ex-fiance. I was making a lot more. He was a teacher's assistant. Went back to school to get his bachelor's and his master's in education, and that didn't work out. And there's been a history, and it's happened to me quite a few times. And so for someone like me, because I was raised, my mom was a single mom. I'm first generation born here. She was born in Dominican Republic. But she came here with nothing. She bought a house. She's a hairstylist, been a hairstylist for 30 plus years, has had her business. So I was raised with hard work. You can do anything that you put your mind to. But when she came home, she was still the submissive. She would make dinner for, the man that she was dating at the time, who's like a stepfather to me. They were together for several years, and do the wifely, duties. So I was raised seeing that. And so I'm like that, while I'm self-sufficient, I've bought my own house, I have my own car, I putting my daughter through college, and I have a teenage son, and I'm handling everything. How do I not fall into that pattern again where I feel like I'm building and it just kind of, falls flat? Like, how do you keep, I'm with you, Kimberly, where, we have to put into our community and into our Black men and embrace them and bring them up. But it happens where, there are a lot of women who are doing that, just not just me, a lot of women in my circle, and they're just being let down over and over and over again.
Well, that's on them.
Yeah.
That's on them. You have to, if I could jump in on that one, that's on us. We choose who we choose.
Yeah.
And we need to know ourselves, and we have to know the facets of that person. And we have to use discernment, because if you try to save everyone, you save no one, and you're raggedy in the end. So I would just say use discernment and protect your trusting heart. That's really it. I'm straight and plain with it.
Go ahead. Who's talking?
Oh, yeah. It's me, India.
So, India, go ahead, India. I want you to hearken. Go ahead, India.
Yes, sir. And see, this is the thing. When they say that Black women need to choose better, oftentimes that comes, okay, I'm single, well, I'm divorced. I'm not dating anyone right now, but if I was dating, personally, I really wouldn't care about the money. You know, I don't make six figures, so, you know, a guy making maybe $50,000 a year would make more than me, to be honest. So it's all good. But they say that Black women need to choose better. And I feel that in order to do that, then just like what Dr. O said, you kind of have to treat it like a business. But my interpretation of that is, you know how like some businesses check your credit report, some businesses check your background, just to see, you know, who who they're looking at to hire, you know, because the past oftentimes is a precursor to the future. And so, okay, the guy doesn't have to make a lot of money, but if he has bad credit, if he has things on his criminal record, not to say I'm not throwing shade at Dr. O or anything. I just want to I'm just saying.
Oh, I know that.
I respect her a lot. Okay, but if he has all of these things on his credit and his criminal background, how does one discern whether or not if this person is worth the investment, considering all of this, you know, negativity that follows it? Because then there's this thing called probability. There's a high probability in regard to this bad credit and this criminal history that this guy could be a repeat offender and could bring me down right along with them. So how does one discern? Yes.
Okay. If I can interject with that, okay, depending on, you know, what his criminal background is, I'm not advocating any sexual, you know, whatever, no deviance first, you know, anything like that. But when a man if he's bringing like a criminal background to the equation, look at the fact like this. A lot of Black women are worried about things like that when they're bringing children into the matrix that half the time is not the children of the man that they're pursuing. So this is something that he have to consider. A prison record has zero to do with him having to come in to raise someone else's children and face a lot of backlash sometimes from these children. So it's like a meeting of the minds when you're merging this type of, you know, people together. It's going to be some bring children, some bring a prison background, some bring bad credit, some bring no credit. So, I mean, this is where maturity kicks in and you got to sit down and talk and see if this is something that you're both going to be compatible in. You have to be transparent in all that, because I'm sure you have a high expectation of that man and he have his set of expectations too that are oftentimes not talked about or discussed in the relationship.
So Kimberly, I want you to just piggyback on that, and then I want to add to it. But go ahead, Kimberly. You were trying to say something. Go ahead, Kimberly.
I just, you know, I hear a lot. I speak on behalf here locally on behalf of our men, and I try to talk. I attempt to talk to our sisters to bring exposure to how society treats our men as a whole. And I always say, let's think of this collectively. Let's not bring in our individual situations, but Lord and behold, there's always a few in the audience that talk about their personal experiences, and we all have them. It's just that I get a little bit frustrated because us Black women as a whole, we talk about our Black girl magic, how we have it going on, how we holding it down. But yet we didn't use that Black girl magic when we were choosing these men. So I have to put it back on us. And I've been there too. We all make mistakes because we're learning about ourselves. Right. But you are ultimately responsible for all of the decisions you make. It's every decision you make is going to catch up to you for the benefit of your life or for adversities and learning. So there has to be accountability. It can't always be that other person. It has to be you. And when you look at yourself objectively and subjectively, you come to answers. And that's all I can really say. I'm hard on myself and I'm hard on.
Hold tight, Jim. Hold tight.
I'm hard on myself and I'm hard on all of us because we need to be in a loving way, I should say, in a loving way. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Well, listen, guys, because this is going to be a powerful collaboration. So, guys that are listening, please like, share, and subscribe. Get the likes up. And if you like what I'm trying to do as it relates to understanding the psychopathologies that go on in the Black community, please cash out 7 Smalls. Now, let me ask you guys a question. We know that there's a lot of dysfunction in the Black community, especially from a clinical perspective. Back in the 70s, there was a 29%, I think it was out of wedlock or out of birth rate, and now it's almost 80%. So there are some serious issues in our community. Dr. O, I want to ask you a question, and then I'm gonna bring Alexandra in. Are American women wife ready? Are they wife ready?
No. I don't think American women are wife ready because they don't want to do the basics. They don't want to do the basics things, you know, that we do as women. You know, yeah, a man can cook, but it always make me feel some kind of way when I get in there and I cook in the kitchen and I fix everybody's plate. And I feel good serving people. I feel good serving people in my home because this is my home. This is the woman's playground, you know. So I think that they aren't wife ready because they were not raised to be wife ready. You know, they were raised to go to the clubs and wear 20-inch weave and wear clothes and stuff around their behind. You know, that's what they was raised to do. They were not raised by women. You know, they were raised by animals. You know, so you know, we lack home training.
Hold on.
That was hilarious.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? All right. So you know, I call, you know, I did a little montage or a little satire, and I call Brother Spencer, Deacon Eric Spencer, and you know what he said actually resonated because him and I, we just came back from the beautiful city of Brazil. And Brazilian women, and the culture is totally different. The women are conditioned to honor and respect the men. Right. And so, you know, Eric said that the fat meat is greasy. And when he said that, I said, you know what, that's stuck in my mind because fat meat a lot of times symbolizes toxicity, laziness, and lack of accountability. And so I wanted to show the highlight and the women to come in and give a cerebral perspective, or what I call a panoramic view, to why when other cultures, men are exonerated. We know it's patriarchy. Machismo plays a major role. But somehow in America, Black men, some of our women have a hard time holding. I'm not saying you got to marry Raekwon the man, be sorry. But I'm talking about a decent a brother that's trying. So Eric, you know, you travel worldwide. And you said that the fat meat is greasy, and it's definitely greasy. And the fat meat is not only greasy as it relates to obesity, but also as it relates to toxic attitude. So break it down for us, Eric, based on what you heard from this conversation.
Okay, well, excuse me, I'm a little late. I had to handle some extra stuff. But when I was saying the fat meat is greasy, what I was saying was Black women don't believe they try to tell them. You know, they keep thinking that Black men are bashing them, and it's not. It's about us trying to make sure that you are your best version of yourself so that we can come together and do stuff. But you can't have a conversation with them. So it's like you talking to the wall. And this conversation has been going on for the last 40, 50 years.
Yes.
So now we're at the point where men are going to be like, okay, well, you don't believe fat meat is greasy? Okay, well, I tell you what. Go up there and get you a handful. And what I mean by that is, that we have been telling you is going to happen. And it's happening. And it's happening in droves. You don't think that Black men were going to walk away from you, and they are. You didn't think that you were going to get the ridicule and disrespect that you're getting, but you are. And it's like, when are you going to have your wake-up call? And that's why I say fat meat is greasy. We are at, you know, the little stuff that I heard about, you know, having animals, I wouldn't go that far, but what I can say is you had 3 generations of women not wanting to be wives.
Right.
We have forgotten as women that what this brother has said is that men bring order and structure to the relationship. That's bigger than anything we can imagine. You know, that's what he brings. I mean, just listening to, you know, the brothers here, they're showing strength. But we don't let our men do that because, like I said, we do have a listening problem and a hearing problem because we're looking at what Susie have over here on the block, you know, valuing our men, again, like Kim said, somewhere else.
But
we
see,
don't.
the other problem, I didn't mean to cut you off. No, but see, a lot of people, though, what they want to say is, oh, it's one problem. No, this is like the problem with 1,000 cuts because there's so many things that have gone into this recipe. And now here we got the cake. And see, the problem is black women have to get a slice of it, and it don't taste that good. Because what's happening is your Gen X men have already been through the ringer. They don't want no more. They've already been through the divorce, the child support. They're gonna get their passports and they're gone.
Right.
Where you had the millennials, they're in transition, and the Z's, oh, they not having it. They telling these women straight up, I'm not dealing with you. I'm not protecting you. I'm not dealing with you. I can go over here and deal with somebody that's a whole lot more fit, feminine, cooking food, be friendly, and fornicate. And I ain't got to put up with half the stuff that I do with you. You want to be black girl magic? No. You want to be black girl magic? Like I said before, poof, your men are gone. And you don't believe, and that's why I said the term, you don't believe fat meat is greasy. But now you running around here talking about your men when nobody's protecting us because you're strong and you're independent. That's what you've been telling us. That's what has programmed into our minds. So you don't need us. And you want to choose. You want to choose to procreate with. That's fine. Out of your choice. But then on the other side, it's my wallet, my choice, and I choose to shop in another store outside the state. That's why I say you don't believe it until you see it. And that's what happens. But even still, the vast majority of them don't believe fat meat is greasy. So that's why I say it. Because until they're in a position where they're out, destitute, homeless, with no kind of prospect, and even still, they don't want to come to Black in America because you don't value them. So let's just go ahead and separate. I mean, I'm not. When men speak about things, black men speak about things, it's not from hate.
Right. Not from hate. Right.
And you want to say it from hate, or you're bashing black men, or you're this, or you're that, and blah 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 blah. Look, I'm in my mama's house. My mama cooked tonight. So, and my father passed, and my mother told me, she said, "I'm so happy to have somebody to cook for."
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
But these women out here, and not all, and like I said, I'm not complaining. I'm just taking observation. They doing Uber Eats. I asked the girl one time in the club. I said, "Do you know how to make gravy from scratch?" That was crazy. But when I told her the recipe, and I'm like, "Well, how do you know?" I said, "Because I learned from my grandmother." I said, "I can cook, clean, shuck corn, skin fish, change oil on my car, do a tune-up, paint stuff. So really, what do I need you for?"
Right. You're exactly right. You know, the crazy thing about it, I want Alexandra to come in. Then Gene, I want you to knock it, hit a home run because Alexandra's waiting to get in. And Gene, I'm gonna want you to pick it back. But you know, Eric, when you and I were in Brazil, man, we saw the vibrancy of the Afro-Latin women. I mean, I was about to sing that song by the Gap Band called "Outstanding." Girl, you knocked me out. I mean, because the sheer beauty and the femininity, and you know, there was a time, you know, women, you know, my logic is if you feel like cooking makes you a slave, then why am I with you?
Right.
Why are we together? Because at any time a man is expected to put his life on the line and die for the woman that he loves. Relationships are symbiotic. You know, right. Teddy said it better than I could say it. It feels so good to love somebody and somebody to love you back. But now in relationships, a lot of our women, not all, shout out to the beautiful sisters on this panel, but they expect men to adhere to 1950 archetypes while they remain modern. And what the brothers are saying is what Patrick Henry said back in the 1700s. Give me liberty or give me death. Alexandra, I want you to come in and piggyback there. And you've been waiting patiently, you know, you're Pisces.
No problem. Yeah, you remembered. So I think, well, to answer your question, no, I don't think, but I think it's beyond just the Black community. It's the brown community in general, because even Latin American women, they are not being raised to be wives. New generation, I mean, you're seeing it. I just think that it's more prevalent. We're seeing it more in the Black community because it's a bigger mass exodus.
Right.
But it's really happening with this new generation across all races. It's just this new generation that's coming up. They are just not being raised to be wives. I mean, we're seeing it in the Black community. We're seeing it in the Latino community, and other brown communities as well. It's just it's about being more independent and self-sufficient and being able to provide for yourself and what used to be important, which is taking care of home and your family and making sure that your loved ones are taken care of and well fed and clothes are washed and the house is smelling good and things are in place, and that's not important anymore.
Go ahead, Jenny.
And neither is being physically fit for us as Black women. That's not important anymore either.
You sure ain't.
Oh man. Well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, all right, I'm a personal trainer, right? So this is what I do for a living. I'm in gyms all the time. We are, put it this way, this is how crazy it is, right? In Harlem, I got to say that like 5 times because it's so crazy. In Harlem, there are more white women in the gyms in Harlem than Black women. But if you step out on the street, there's way more Black women than white women. And this is the thing that Black women need to understand. Like the brother was saying, it's not that we hate you. It has nothing to do with it. Like the guys that are talking, the reason they're talking is because they still care. The guys who are done with Black women, you don't hear anything about them because they're gone. Mm-hmm. There are there are 2 million more Black women in this country, right? But there's over 900,000 more married Black men.
Now,
what?
So me. I go to the gym. I work out about between 4 and 5 days a week, depends.
Yes, you do.
But I live in a pretty much 99% Black community. I'm in Newark. Latinos and white, they're the minority. It's in the last 4 months. I don't know if there has been an awakening. I don't know if it's because summer's coming. I have seen a huge increase of women, because there were times where I was maybe one of 3 women in the gym in the wintertime. But now, you're seeing more and more women. I live not too far from a park. You see tons of women walking and running.
There's absolutely more Black women and Latina women going to the gym. I will say this: Instagram, as much as people hate social media and whatever the motivations are, Instagram has been the greatest motivator to get women of color in the gym because of the attention that they get on Instagram. It motivates them to get in the gym. You have way more Black and Latino women. Well, in New York City, the Latino women have always worked out. I mean, when I was going to the gym 30 years ago, the Latinas were in there. But there are far more Black women working out in the gym. But the thing is, it's like, the problem is that when a woman goes, like, there's so many women that don't go to the gym, that don't take care of themselves, that the ones that do, they have an inflated sense of self.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you go to another community and everybody's going to the gym, then nobody thinks that, because I'm fit, I'm somehow better and I deserve, Louis Vuitton bags and all of this stuff. Like these women, they think because they go to the gym and they're fit compared to their contemporaries, and it's true, they really, really stand out. Because if you go out and into the clubs and stuff, most of the women are obese. The few that are fit, they're getting all the attention and stuff, and they're just unrealistic. It's like, that doesn't make you a better, once someone's in a relationship with you, how is it that you're better than the woman that doesn't go to the gym or the woman that goes to the gym, on occasion? Like, you're not, you have to be the whole package, just like they want us to be the whole package. I work out all the time. I'm in really good shape, you know. But if I was a bum on the court, what does that mean? Like if I was inarticulate, if I embarrassed you when you took me to places to meet your, you know, because there's plenty of guys who can't talk. You know, you don't want them in professional environments. Like, what type of example would you be for you know, children or whatever? Like, you got to bring more to the table than money. You got to bring more to the table than, you know, you're in shape. I mean, it's all, you want all of that, but it's got to be a complete package. And for our women, it's like, take me, if I'm 300 pounds, I'm still a queen. I'm still magical. Yeah, you know, I still rock. And if I'm in shape, then, you know, you need to spend all this money. I saw a video where a guy spent $600 on a date with this woman.
Oh, I saw that.
Because, you know, she was attractive. And then she called an Uber at the end of the date before he could even, you know, like say, oh, let's go do this or let's go do that. And she was arguing with him like, you know, you got the pleasure of this. I'm a hottie. Do you see me? You got the pleasure of my company. That was worth your $600. So when you have so many out of shape women, that's the type of outsized perspective that women get when they do look good, because their contemporaries are all overweight and out of shape.
And then if we talk about looking good too, think about it. I talk to a lot of Black women, you know, they think in shape is when they put on waist trainers and Spanx. You know, they have the instant body. And when they, you know.
You can't fool me with that. I can see through that.
Yeah, and then, you know, they have the waist trainers, the Spanx on, then they have 20-inch hair. Nobody ever seen their hair. I told the young men that I talked to, it's a requirement that you see the woman's head that you with. If she can't show you her head, you need to go on. You know,
nobody ever seen their hair.
You know, have you ever seen their hair? And some of these men have never seen their lady's hair. They've never seen their lady without makeup on, no hair, you know, without this Spanx. I think that's false advertisement. When you bounce around, you know, and have color contacts, this big wig, and you're fat and you're out of shape, you have these waist trainers on.
But what a real man.
Look. I understand. Hey, everything you just said, I agree and concur. But this is the other component. Brothers are tired of it.
Yes.
Yes.
We've already been through the gamut. We done the Keith Sweat, the begging. We done. No. We don't. Andro, all the flowers. You know, we done cooked and cleaned and did all the other stuff. The things that have said that women say they have wanted, and there haven't been any results. So brothers are tired. Like, you're gonna have some brothers that are gonna say, "Yeah, I'm gonna give you a chance." But like I said, brothers in my age group, a lot of the Gen Xers, they don't want to hear it. They're done.
Right.
So trying to get in shape in your 40s, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. That's right.
But here's the problem. There's a catch to that, is that men still chase after, you know, the snatched waists and the long wigs and the giant eyelashes. And so until that stops,
but that's a certain type of guy.
No, that's what I'm saying. A certain type of guy. Absolutely. But women, young women, they're impressionable. They say, "Oh, she's getting all the attention because look how she looks." I have a daughter. She's going to be 19, and beautiful natural hair. She just started trying wigs. I'm like, why are you trying a wig? Your hair is gorgeous. It's curly and you have tons of hair. Right. Well, sorry, my son is coming up behind me. And so, but it's because what she's seeing and what she sees that other guys like. And so until the male population in general and totality, which is never going to happen because you're always going to have, you know, to your point, all types of men and different types of men. Until that ends, it's always going to be a problem. It's always going to be a problem.
I think those women are good for men to have fun with, but they're not good to wife. You know, they're not going to wife them. They're good to have fun.
This is the thing. Like you said, they're trying to attract a certain type of guy. Mm-hmm. And that type of guy is the ain't shit dude. Those are the dudes that have been presented to them as the dudes that all of them want to be with. But after they get their little desserts, they realize that that dude is not the dude they want. See, a dude to be a husband don't want a weave. They don't want eyelashes. They do want you to be feminine. But you're not going for them because society has told you those aren't good dudes. They want you to be with a dysfunctional dude that's not going to make a good husband and a good father.
Right.
And it's not after you have gone through your gamut of messing with those ain't shit dudes, then you want to come back and be with us. So them days are over. Those days are over. See, I want to give a shout out to Alan Roger Curry because he wrote a book called The Beta Male Revolution. And in that book, he predicted what's happening now. Dudes are telling you, no, we're not going to take it anymore. And it's the American society. Men can't change it because men have tried to change it for the last 40 to 50 years. And every time we try to make some type of headway, we've gotten pushed back and blown down. It's only been recently in the last 3 to 5 years that men, black men in particular, have been making headway. But see, nothing is talked about the men that the community needs. Those men are leaving because they've had enough. And to her point, when you go to Brazil, those women are still socialized to be wives. Yes, they're not perfect. Yes, you have spectrum, but the overall culture is still about family. The United States is not like that. It's about individualism. So men can tell women all they want. They want traditional women to do this and this and that. Feminism and all these other movements and ideologies are telling them different, and they're choosing different. So if it's your body, your choice, then it's also your consequences for your choice. Right. And that's what you're seeing. And you don't, and nobody's going to advertise this. And black men are not going to speak out in droves. They're just going to walk away. And that's the other thing. You don't have a target to hit because you don't know who to shoot.
Listen, we got. You're right. I agree with you, Eric. We got my man, brother, the American Brazilian. He is a walking epistle to why he went outside the confines of the United States. And so, listen, guys, I bring these shows to you all because as a clinical therapist, it's very important. Indy, I want you to come back in a minute because you've been listening, you've been silent. I know you're a Capricorn, you got to make that money, but I'm gonna bring you back in a minute, sweetie. But I do these shows because, as Eric said, and as I said, and Gene, we're talking because we still love black women. You know, I'm married, but I'm just saying, you know, brothers, they still love them. And, you know, self-accountability and self-reflection is very important in ensuring that we make the right outcomes for our communities. Now, listen, I think the game is on, man. We got the numbers are low tonight, but to those that are listening, please like, share, and subscribe, and donate $7 Smalls. These shows are very important. At some point, I'm going to start doing consultations where I'll be giving you non-diagnostic consultations. You can come in and, you know, I'm going to charge you a fair rate, and we're going to have a conversation, all right? So we got the American Brazilian. Go check out that brother on his YouTube channel. Awesome brother. He married his beautiful wife, Talita. So I want you to tell the audience who you are, American Brazilian, and why is the fat meat still greasy in America?
Wow, you know, can everybody hear me well?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
Well, as he said, I'm the American Brazilian. I'm the American. My wife is the Brazilian, hence American Brazilian. My name is Larry. Before I say anything, I want to give a shout out or RIP shout out to a gentleman who helped me out. He was in the travel sector who passed away. He actually relocated from America to Brazil, had been living there for quite some time. His name is Yusef Watif. So I definitely want to, you know, send my condolences out to that brother. He definitely helped me out. I'm going to be heading to Brazil at some point really soon. And I wanted to see him and hang out with him, but, you know, unfortunately that won't happen. But in any event, why is the fat meat still greasy? Forgive me, guys. I kind of got in at the last minute. And when you say why is the fat meat still greasy, are you talking in regards to people leaving America or people not necessarily dating inside America? I just want to make sure that
So it's a combination of both, but also like Eric was talking about, the cognitive distortion called denial. You know, a lot of our women are in denial until they get to Brazil, and then they realize the fat meat really is greasy, because in Brazil they're invisible. You know, unfortunately. So that's what I'm talking about. Why is the fat meat still greasy in America? Because it's a euphemism from actually meaning, Larry, toxicity of behavior, unwillingness to work out, but also the level of entitlement that some women actually have as well. So go ahead, Larry, break it down for the people.
I remember one time watching Charles Tyler, and he had an interesting situation that occurred. There were American women who had come to Brazil, and they literally were trying to debate him on the beach. And of course, you know, it really wasn't much of a debate. I don't know if any of the brothers saw that. But,
I saw that. I saw it.
But okay,
I saw it too.
I saw it.
I think the biggest issue is our circle. Most of the times when we're in denial, we kind of surround ourselves with sycophants. Yes, people, you know, people like we are, people that are not going to challenge us on, you know, our inconsistencies, our poor behavior, poor diet, etc., etc. Because, you know, everybody wants to be accepted. So the easiest way to be accepted is get around people who will not necessarily challenge you. Unfortunately, when you go to places like Brazil, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, other Latino countries, even African nations, and you see the very antithesis of what you are, now you have an issue. You know, so now you want to kind of rush. And I think I heard one sister say, go to the gym, which is good. But then you want to kind of cut corners and you want things done immediately, which can bring even additional problems depending on how you get that done. But I think a lot of times, man, to answer your question, I think people hang around people like them, people that are not going to challenge them, which is why they say the same. Yeah.
And I think the lady said it earlier. I think a large part of it is that men have allowed it. I think American men have allowed the issues that they actually begin to experience, because men are the gatekeepers to relationships. We determine who we marry. Like the brother said a couple of minutes ago, he's correct. Water seeks its own level. If a man is a one, that woman is a one. If that man that's a one don't want that woman that's a one, she can't get married. If a man is a 7 and that woman is a 7, but she might want a 10, but the 10 doesn't want that 7, then she can't get married either. So water does seek its own level in the esoteric. Shout out to brother D7. And so, guys, if you like what's going on, get the likes up. Once again, please donate to Cash App 7 Smalls. And we're having a powerful discussion. Why is the fat meat still greasy in America? And once again, it's also more than just denial and delusion, but also it's toxicity of mind and also obesity. The beautiful, American Brazilian, before you met your beautiful wife, Talita, what were some of the main issues that you blame yourself for allowing the things you went through dealing with toxic women in America?
I embrace potential and not reality. I think a lot of times, you know, we hear this predominantly among women. Well, he has potential, so I'm going to give him a chance. Or with guys, well, you know, she does this or she does that, but she's a good person, and I think she can be this way. I think she can be that way. Unfortunately, when you embrace potential, it's the 50%. It's kind of a pipe dream, right? So what you embrace is not necessarily going to manifest. It's what you don't like. That's what you're going to see more of. So for me, I was that guy who kind of, you know, I'm a patient guy. I consider myself a pretty patient guy, but I kind of embraced potential. And I'm not saying that everybody was bad and I was all good. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Another thing I did was I paid more attention to who I like and not enough attention to who liked me. And so once I started paying more attention to who liked me, it kind of helped me see beyond the little things like, well, they got potential. It helped me to kind of really get into reality. And when I got into reality, you know, I eventually found my wife.
Hey, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, the guys in the back, please mute your mics. As the guests are talking, mute your mics. There's background noise. So, ladies, I want to ask you guys a question. India, you're listening. What do you gather from this conversation? You've been very quiet. And so we've talked about a myriad of issues from toxicity of mind, obesity, entitlement. What are you getting from this discussion, India? You've been quiet.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, yes, I've been quiet because I had to, my voice was lagging in the background and it messed with the way I was speaking. So I had to log in, log back out and close some windows. But anyway, yes, I just think at the end of the day, it's just, I hate to sound cliche, but it is a culture issue. I think that, as a result of that, there's just, I don't know. Yikes.
It's okay. Ladies, I want to ask you guys a question. Some of you guys have been
You're
married.
right, though. It is a culture issue.
You're right. Some of you guys have been married and some of you guys are divorced and remarried. What do you take accountability for having Greasy meet in your relationship? What do you take accountability for having Greasy meet in your relationship? And then, Eric, I want you to come back into the group, man, and tell me where you feel like you were complicit in sabotaging relationships from the past. So starting with Dr. O, and you can share as much as you want to share, Dr. O. You don't have to tell all your business. But how do you feel like, unmute yourself there, unmute yourself, unmute. We can't hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, my business is in my first book that I published. So,
yes, ma'am.
I'm very open with that. But I think what was damaging for me was my listening skills. I had poor listening skills. So I had to retrain myself, to listen, because by me carrying a lot of titles, being an executive, having all these degrees, it was important for me to listen, so now I even have a pet peeve about people who don't listen. I think people should listen to clearly get an understanding and not hold on to words, one word that'll just, send you off. You must listen to understand. That's a huge thing for me. That was something that I had to learn. And that's something that I'm a huge advocate for. When I have women telling me, well, oh, it was just, no. Half the time we have poor listening skills and our mouth can be an AK-47. We say things out of emotion because we do not listen and we do not think before we get ready to say something.
Right. Okay. Kimberly, what do you take accountability for? And we know you're perfect because you're a Leo. You're a Leo, you're perfect. But what do you take accountability for, Kimberly? When you go back and reflect sometime, and you don't have to share all your personal business, share what you want to share. What do you take accountability for as it relates to the demise of some of the things in your prior relationships?
Just being a workaholic and too transactional. I've always been in my purpose of advocating for Black men, and a lot of times it's hard to be in relationships because a lot of people don't understand the purpose. But yeah, that about sums it up. Being too transactional and a workaholic.
Okay, fair enough. Lady Pisces, you say you were married in the past, right?
No, sadly.
I thought you said you were married. I'm sorry.
No, I was engaged.
Right.
I'd have to say for me, it would be self-esteem issues. And so I had very poor self-esteem. I was actually extremely heavy. I was almost 300 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I've since then lost 120 pounds or so. And that's helped me. And it was a life changing. I mean, it not only physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally. And when I had that aha moment, that moment where I was like, you know what, it's time for me to just do what I need to do for me, for my health, for how I feel about myself. That opened up all types of things for me. Like I would, because I was so self-conscious about myself, I was self-conscious about my partner and the relationship and, oh, is he looking at her, or am I not ugly? Am I not as pretty as that chick right there if we were out to dinner or whatever? So it just, there was a lot that caused a lot of issues. And so with my weight loss and with my fitness journey and my healthy lifestyle that I've embraced, it's just, I mean, obviously there's still work because the exterior I've worked on my exterior and I'm still working on the interior. That can always be worked on. But it's been a huge difference with how I interact with people, how I interact with men and women alike. So yeah, for me, that I'd have to say that'd be it.
Powerful. Eric Spencer, how did you sabotage yourself in prior relationships, and how did Eric Spencer contribute to the simp culture?
Because Eric Spencer listened to what he was told.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I told you, my parents, you know, before my father's passing, my parents were together for 51 years. So when you grow up in that culture, in that house, in a household where they're there that long working together, and you have aunts and uncles in the same situation, you're going to emulate that. Well, but you're entering into a different era and a different time where you're trying to do the things that society has told you from the women that they want you to do, and then they turn around and you do those things and you don't get the results. Like, I've been the stepdaddy, dated single mothers. I've been the guy to do this and do that, and to be the nice guy and be there and be all the other stuff. And that contributed to it because I always thought there was something wrong with me. And that contributed to a lot of dysfunctional behavior from a lot of women. But it wasn't until I had my epiphany at 40, it was like, yo, enough is enough. And you know, unfortunately, I went through the situation longer because, like I said, my socialization, my imprint, I was dating to look for a wife.
Right.
A lot of the women that I dated weren't looking for husbands. They were looking for what they could get out of me.
That's right.
That's powerful. And you're right. You're right. I think we have been conditioned, Eric, to see, you know, because men have two mechanisms fighting against them. Men by nature are doers. It's just in our nature to do. And then on top of that, being socialized to do for women that sometimes are not worthy of that, it brings forth a concept that I call double jeopardy. We put ourselves in double jeopardy because we've been conditioned to be doers, where the women have been conditioned to be independent outside of the man, and to see the man as a competition. And therefore she sees the black man a lot of time as her enemy, instead of seeing him as a person that she looks up to and reverence. Why is there lack of masculinity in America, the American Brazilian? And tell the audience, how is it different in Brazilian culture based on your marriage to your wife?
Well, I think here in America, I think there's a lack of masculinity because a lot of a lot of brothers have been, you know, basically punished. I'll say it that way, by the system and by this country. You know, if it seems as though if you speak out against certain things too long, now they call it cancel culture, but it actually has been going on for quite some time. You know, if you're in a relationship, if you're doing something the person don't like, they call the police on you. Whether you did something or not, they'll just call the police on you as a form of punishment. And I think a lot of guys get to the point where they just, some of them just kind of are very acquiescent, and they'll just, you know, kind of, okay, well, I'll just do this. I'll do this. I don't want to make her mad, or, you know, get her to call the police on me, or get her to call her brothers or her friends or whatever. So I'll just kind of, you know, I'll not make a ripple. You know what I'm saying? I'll just kind of play along. I'll go along and get along. And I think that is definitely a contributor to the demasculation here in America. Now, I think in Latin countries, traditionally, their traditional role is as a man is the head, right? And in those countries, and of course, I don't advocate this, but and you heard my wife say this the last time we did a show. Like in those countries, men, like, there is no real, like, there's domestic violence, but it's kind of rare. You know, you call the police, it's kind of like, what do you want us to do? You know, so there's a almost like a knowing that a man is the head. You know, he kind of calls the shots. And not in a weird, crazy way, like, you know, hey, I want you to go rob a bank. But, you know, they call it machismo, you know.
Machismo, right.
Yeah. So the masculinity of a man is like a number one. You know, he eats first. He does a lot of things first. He loves his wife in a normal, healthy relationship. He loves his wife.
Right.
He loves his children. He honors them. And she, in turn, gives him that place in the house, in life, where he should have. And that's a number one. So that's kind of ubiquitous in Latin America as a whole. But that's kind of where it's consistent as well, because as children, they are raised seeing a man as the head, and then as female children, they are raised saying, okay, if you want a good relationship, this is how you honor your husband. And they even do it by honoring their brothers. So it's kind of a traditional thing, whereas here it's not necessarily like that way.
Right. You're 100%. Guys, hold tight. I want to share something with you guys. Hold tight. I want you guys to listen to this, and I want you guys to piggyback on what Ms. Ali is saying. So give me one moment. Hold tight.
We big and fat and try to convince somebody that looks good. Our men are overweight. Now you're talking about high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease. And so the stress of racism in this country already puts that on us. We're 17, 18 generations up from slavery. And as I said, that's why I wrote that book, Are You Still a Slave? To help us to understand that we're still practicing the same behavior. And we're not always forced to, but as long as we practice the same behaviors that we do and go for the things we go for, then the enemy understands that they still have control over us. And we have lived in a society where our man has been disenfranchised. We have run them crazy at home, and they've been around so many women, they grow up and talk like women and act like women. You know, when we dragging our son to the beauty parlor to get our hair braided, and he got to sit in there and listen to women for 3 and 4 hours. Okay, when we take him over to our girlfriend's house and he got to listen to that. Well, see, a lot of that impacts upon his development. And there are some fathers who are unfit to be around their children or the woman or anybody else. But then there are a lot of other great fathers who are qualified to.
All right, guys, hold tight. All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, so you heard what Ms. Ali said. And so it sounds like there's a lot of self-sabotaging behavior in the Black community where our people are actually shooting themselves in the foot because they don't understand the importance of community and balance. And also to add to that, a lot of our men have been socialized to think like their moms. What do you guys say about that whole short clip? And we're going to finish it in a minute. But what do you guys, Gene, I want you to add to that. And based on what you say, I want you to add to it, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, what she said is very important because like when the American Brazilian was talking, the thing that I was thinking was that, you know, so many Black men, you know, 78% of Black kids are born out of wedlock. So, usually the mother's a custodial parent. What a lot of women do, and I've seen this, is that they try to make their son into the simp that they wanted, you know, the guys who didn't stick around to be. They try to make their son basically put Black women on a pedestal and worship them. And guys go out into the world doing this, and you know it doesn't work. It's not natural, you know. And eventually, guys will come out and they'll get an understanding that this doesn't work. I was raised the polar opposite, so I have a lifetime of clashing, even with Black men. I get into it with Black men all the time because they have this matriarchal thinking. Right. You know, they think like, and you can't say anything about a Black woman without it being that you hate her. And this is from men. I'm not even talking about Black women. So this is from men. You hate her. You know, you hate yourself. You know, everything. But there is no right way to constructively critique a Black woman. It's just not possible. The other thing she said about the diets and stuff is really important because when you think about it, okay, so we have a lot of dysfunction in our community that causes stress. Stress causes the body to produce cortisol. Cortisol prohibits the building of muscle, and it prohibits the building of muscle. It increases the storing of fat. It raises men's estrogen levels, and it creates inflammation in the body. And inflammation is known to be, you know, tied to every major disease. If you have inflammation, you're asking, for health problems. So you can see that manifested in the fact that we lead the nation in so many diseases. Like one of the things that pisses me off the most, bro, is when I hear people saying black don't crack. Our life expectancy is shorter than anybody's. We're cracking from the inside out.
Right.
Like that's such a stupid comment to make. Black don't crack. We're cracking from the inside out. But these unhealthy and I've listened to everything Miss Ali has ever produced, and she's right. Like it's very important. I mean, I'm a guy who can cook. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I don't have the issue as far as like with a lot of guys, like a woman on cooking, this and that. But it's, some traditionally a woman has cooked, and that is a way to take care of your family by managing what goes in their mouth. Because from the time a child is young, you're going to develop their eating habits by what you give them. If you're giving them fast food, that's what they're going to like. My daughter is rarely tasted fast food. She likes food. Like what you feed. So you have all these kids now who they don't like the taste of real food. They like the taste of fast food. It's hard to get them to eat real food, and that's just because, like she said, we don't value that role of feeding and nourishing families anymore. Women don't value it.
I totally agree. India, I'm not going to let you slide, but I want you to, I asked all the ladies the question, how did you sabotage your relationships in the past? And what have you learned, India, from the past moving forward to be a better wife and to be a better woman if you decide to get married?
Yes. Well, I was very passive. I was a people pleaser. And as a result of that, those who came in contact with me, they took the advantage of me and they didn't respect me. And so that all tied into my having low self-esteem. And so admittedly, what I had to do was I had to get a therapist to get to the root cause for why I was so passive and such a people pleaser. And then once I was able to identify what contributed to that, I then regained my power and my self-respect and my dignity back.
Right.
And so, so moving forward, that just, making sure that my needs are known, and that my boundaries are not being crossed is what would make me a better wife in the future if I were to remarry. So, yeah.
Okay, hold tight. Let's finish listening to what Ms. Ali was saying. Hold tight, guys.
Help nurture their child and co-parent, but we don't deal with them because we're mad at them. The child ain't mad. Well, we used to identify with being black first and having a black man, but because of the women's liberation movement, now we try to identify as being female, and we got all of this here, black girls do this and black women do that, and we have not come up with a program as black women that honors our men as much as we honor ourselves. Okay? It would not be us if it were not for him. Okay? Well, everything is just a decision. And when a lot of us hear the truth, we don't want to take that truth because it requires us to change and rearrange the fake values that we have been forced to accept. We think to live out here. And many of us think that if we do that we will become ostracized. In order to rebuild our nation, you have got to be brave. You have got to step out on the truth. And we don't keep needing a God that we can love. We need a God that loves us. That's different. It's a lot of basic things we have not done that any people who are trying to survive would ordinarily do. And then we want to come out here and think we should get the top man and that he should go along with any nonsense we practice.
Boom. Now, this goes back to what Eric was saying earlier. Eric, I want you to piggyback on it. This goes back to what Eric was talking about earlier about the fat meat being greasy, and a lot of our women are in denial. And it's the nature of hypergamy, where a lot of our women feel like they should get the top level men when they're not worthy of it. Eric, what do you get from Miss Ali when she was more or less pontificating that point of view?
I mean, basically, she was just summing up what I was already saying before, is that you're very delusional in your thinking because you've been told that you deserve this, like I deserve. No, you get what you can negotiate. And right now, you're not in the position to negotiate because you have nothing of value. And the thing that you think it is of value is in abundance. It's in plentiful abundance. I mean, he just lets you know that there's 2 million more black women than men. So the numbers aren't in your favor, but in your mind and on all the other people's mind and Essence, Oprah, BET, that you deserve. Lizzo deserves a 7-foot lean basketball player, but you standing at 5'10", 300 pounds.
Right.
You delusional. But women believe that. They believe that. They believe that that a man that sacrifices his diet, he's in shape, he's mentally, he's physically, emotionally available, and he has all these other options, that they deserve that type of man, even though you have done none of the things that he has done. And that's the problem. And the other part that she's probably going to allude to is that you can't change that programming. They don't believe that they can't have that man. That's why I keep saying, you don't believe the fat meat is greasy. Okay. But now they're getting a dose of that reality. You're not getting those dudes.
Right.
And black men are starting to have standards. See, white men, they don't play that. Oh, you gonna get on that treadmill. You ain't coming around me looking like that with no bonnet and pajamas on behind me. Oh, no, sir.
Right.
And so now black dudes, they starting to say the same thing, at least the quality dudes. If you got a dude and he ain't putting no standards on you, then sweetheart, you don't have a quality dude because you are a reflection of him.
Right.
And you talking about you want correction, then he's giving it to you, and you're not gonna accept it. Then I can't do nothing with you.
Right.
And that to me it just sums up what Miss Ali is saying.
Right, and I think a lot of it's that we live in a matriarchal society that more or less encourages that type of pathology or encourages that type of negative thinking to the point that, when you grow up in homes where you don't see fathers consistently, and those fathers not teaching boys principles and what to look for in a woman, reinforced by a mom that says what your mom said, Eric Spencer, she loves cooking for a man. Therefore, there goes the breakdown of the black community. Gene, I see your hand up, Gene. Hold up, Gene. I'm gonna bring you in. Hold up, Gene. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. But American Brazilian, when you look at the vibrancy of your wife's culture and what it's done to your mental health and what it's done to your spirit, and I joked with you two shows ago that if you go to Brazil, you'll make a boy. What is your wife done to your spirit, man? I was so impressed, man, by the peace I saw on your face. But what has she done to your spirit, and what do you think about also as it relates to healthy eating? Because I know in Brazilian culture they eat healthy. So go ahead, American Brazilian. Then Gene, you can pick it back, brother.
Well, first of all, I want to say yes, we have son. So yes, I made a boy. I think the greatest element that she brought to me was peace. I mean, I didn't need anything other than, the relationship. You know what I'm saying? So she brought peace to me. And I think if in regards to eating in their culture, you having gone and visited Brazil, everything they exercise by default. It's almost like the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. You don't realize, but you're actually learning how to fight. So they do a lot of walking. They do a lot of just impromptu exercise, and then it's kind of a vain culture anyway. So, and I don't say that in a bad way, but looking good, smelling good, a good appearance, it kind of ties into the home training, the home training that they were taught. So, and eating as well. Eating good, looking good, smelling good. All of that is kind of like a package deal. And they were reared to think this way. They were reared to believe this. So when you go to Brazil, it's not uncommon to have rice, to have beans, to have a vegetable, to have a salad, to have a lean meat with every meal. Like, so for instance, fast foods and things of that nature, there was a spike. And I think I said this the last show that we had. There was a small increase in like diabetes and high blood pressure. Well, they traced it back to the American companies that had migrated there, the Burger Kings, the McDonald's, the things of that nature. And they were trying to implement the same type of meats and cooking that they were doing here. And they kind of outlawed it. So that's kind of where that stuff comes from. But in regards to, just what she brought to my life, it's just an abundance of peace. Listen, I hate to be quick and everything. I really wanted to be on here a lot longer, but I definitely want to go and kind of hang out with my son and help wife put him to sleep, play with him before he goes to bed. So shout out to everybody on the panel. If you got a page, I'm going to try to follow you guys at some point. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know if the audio is gone, but
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yes.
All right. Okay,
Yes.
good. So at some point, I'm going to go back on this show, and if you guys have a page, I'm going to follow you and check out your content. I figure you all are good people. You got you on the platform, a man, a coach, a clinician, so y'all got to be tight. So, yeah, that's kind of what I had to add to the conversation, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.
Thank you, American Brazilian. Eric,
Hey,
when you
brother.
get a chance, tell the guys in BMO to add the show, man. It's live, so please add the show, Eric, when you get a minute. All right, go ahead, Gene. You had your hand up. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, because what Shahrazad Ali was saying about the women thinking that they can get those men, like they can get the top men. It reminded me of I watched a live stream maybe 6 months ago, and it was men. It was a MGTOW live stream, and it was men in 4 different countries. And the thing that they were saying in one of the countries was Brazil. One was here. I think it was the other 2 were from. But what they were saying was that in here, it's borne out here in that I think we have a higher number of men who are virgins than like any time in modern history. And because what is going on is that online dating, particularly Tinder, they were talking about Tinder because Tinder is popular everywhere. So 80% of the women everywhere are chasing 20% of the men. They did not know where to find that 20% of men before, but now with online dating, they know where to find them. So these women, whether they're, and another problem is this, particularly in the Black community, the reason these women think that they can get these men is because a lot of guys, and I don't care how good looking they are, how much money they have or whatever, a lot of guys have Black men, I'm just going to say it because it's true. Black men collectively have the lowest standards on the planet. Like you could see a guy who's, quote unquote, drop dead gorgeous, and the women that he'll sleep with, it'll just blow your mind. Like, it's like, why are you doing that? So a lot of these women are actually sleeping with, men who are way out of their league. The guy will never be seen in public with them. He'll never openly date them, but they're sleeping with them, and they think that equates to them being able to get these guys. So you have all these women on online dating thinking that they actually can have access to the top 20% of men. So they're ignoring the men that would be matches for them. And this is not just going on here. Like I said, it was like between 4 and 6 countries, this live stream, and in every country they were complaining about it. And they were saying that Tinder was the main culprit. But it's just a manifestation of online dating. Women see, they know where to find these guys. Before they did not know where to find them, but they see. It's like the eye sees, the eye covets. That's what human beings do. They're coveting this top 20% of men.
No, I totally agree. Hold tight. Let's finish listening, guys. Hold tight.
Just to have sex with us. Some people have, and their life is better. Some women have, and some men have. Now I know that our brothers are broken. Many of them have had such a hard time. We don't even know what it's like to be a Black man in America. They're hunted down like wild animals. And they are killed unjustly. It doesn't matter. Rather, it used to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, any place is the wrong time for our men. And because of the women's lib movement and the big mouth many of us have developed out here trying to talk and yell and jump up in men's faces, now the enemy treating our women like they treat our men. They throw them down, shoot them, anything. So we need.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, I'm going to ask you ladies the question. How has feminism impacted the relationships of Black men and Black women, starting with Dr. O? How has feminism impacted the relationships of Black men and Black women? Then we're going to go to Kimberly, we're going to go to Alexandria, and then we're going to go to India. Go ahead, Doc.
It's funny. I was asked this question on a show with Blexit before this show, and I don't believe Jasmine's doing a walk by, as y'all can see in the background. Right. But I don't believe that feminism had anything to do with us as Black women. I've said that for years. I believe that was something, between Caucasian women and white men. I think that's a power struggle that she had, and I kind of equate that to when I was in the military and being on a carrier. Well, I didn't volunteer to do that. I was fine in the office, but you had a bunch of other women who wanted to be on the carriers with the men because they feel like that there's their competition. I don't think we ever looked at our men as competition until recent years when these type of movements started to come about. I'm not even a fan of like the Me Too movement, so I may not be the best person to ask that, but I don't think feminism has anything to do with us as Black women.
Right. So we know it doesn't benefit the Black community, but it did play an impact on the dismantling of the Black community. So that's what I'm more or less talking about. Okay. How did it dismantle the efficacy or the progress that we had in prior years? Listen, the brother made a very good comment about trauma. And so, listen, coming out of Jim Crow racism, Black people were still one of the most intact people versus, as Americans, because we had to stick together. So even through trauma, we were still impact because I believe we had abiding principles called faith. As a clinical therapist, we look at four elements that more or less optimizes a man and a woman. It's called the bio, psycho, social, and then the spiritual. And the spiritual was faith, and that more or less sustained us. And that's why when I did the montage, I added, an old Baptist or Pentecostal style to it, because I think the absence of faith and morals has more or less played a role in the dismantling of the Black community. So, Doc, in your own opinion, how did feminism destroy the progress that Black men and Black women were making at one point in America?
Well, I'm going to say that since you explained it like that, I'm going to say feminism is one of the reasons why that we look at the Black man for our financial gain. I think feminism played a big role in that right there, in the fact that we just look at them as a commodity, like a money asset versus anything else, outside of that. I think they had a huge play in that.
Okay. Kimberly McDowell, how did feminism play a role in the dismantling of the Black community?
I don't know. I'm so confused. I'll just be so very honest with you. We have so many challenges. I've never really paid attention to feminism because I just never agreed with a lot of the philosophies women had growing up. We're drawn to dysfunction. So I don't even know if feminism is on the top of the list, more so than our men being totally disenfranchised and used and abused. I just haven't gotten to the feminism yet. I don't think I will at this point, but I'm just being really honest with you. I think there are so many of us in our community that want to latch on to something rather than realizing what we have within ourselves and how great we are. So we latched on to the feminism. If you want a movement to start nationally, get the Black woman on board and it'll happen if you ever notice that.
Right.
But I know I don't like it, but that's all I could say about it. It's just not a good thing. And we have so many other pressing problems, this just adds to it.
No doubt. Powerful, powerful. India, how does feminism more or less play a role, in your opinion, in the dismantling of the Black community, in your opinion?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, I think that it goes back to from when our community had switched from being conservative Republicans to Democrats. Once the Democratic liberal ideology infiltrated our community, it divided us, needless to say, just to say fundamentally, it divided us.
Right.
And also it took away the liberal ideology, the racist liberal ideology, took away from our core values. Because as you said, back in the day during Jim Crow, we worked together. We had, a lot of children were born within a marriage and a two-parent home. The traditional values were deeply upheld within the Black community. So once that dynamic infiltrated our community and dismantled it, then that's when the feminism came into play, because they gave the illusion that Black women were on the same playing field as white women. And so, like I said previously, it's just a multifaceted situation which plague our community. But but I think the issue is that it's kind of like what I kind of don't know too. There's so many problems, but then at the same time, it's like I think we just lost, track of who we are and really what our core values are. We're constantly putting ourselves and our community on the back burner in order to identify with all these different sects of people and issues that don't have anything to do with us, and that's not, and it takes away from who we are as a people.
Right.
And so, we're not. I mean, traditional values is the bedrock of the Black community. But then when you have this liberal ideology conflicting with that, then it's just going to dismantle. It's just going to be a contrast with everything, and it'll never really work.
Right. Right. Powerful. Alexander, thank you, Indy. That was an excellent expose. Alexandra, how did caustic feminism play a role in the dismantling of the Black community? And so the guys that are listening, please share this information with at least 20 people. Let's try to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers soon, man. You guys are getting some good content. You're getting good people that are involved in the show. And if you like what I'm doing, please donate. Cash App, $ Cash App, 7 Smalls. As you guys know, I am a licensed clinical therapist, but I take an unorthodox approach to some of the issues that are confronting Black men and Black women in America. This channel is dedicated to empowering Black men, but also empowering the Black family to become better. So, Alexandra, in your own best estimation, how did caustic feminism play a role, in your opinion, to the dismantling of the Black community?
Yeah, so and I apologize if my fellow panel members mentioned what I'm about to say. I had to step away for a brief moment, but I think it starts off, I think it has to do, and I'm starting off at the home level. I'm not going to go into the political side. I think that caused a lack of respect for men in their homes, in that, now, women, we can do it ourselves. We can whatever, we make more money or whatnot. And so the level of respect to their partners, their husbands, has diminished. And I think that is a big problem. The way you speak to your partner, the way you interact with them, how you speak to your friends and your family about your partner. I mean, that's huge to me. I think that's a big piece of it. And I'll end there actually with that. So I think it definitely has to do with the respect to the Black man, the head of house, the foundation, and how that, has kind of had a huge aspect in kind of diminishing that.
And Kimberly, I'm going to challenge, not Kimberly, Alexander, I'm going to challenge your query, because your heart is right. But a lot of people use the word partner. It was a new word. I never even heard the word because back in the day it was just husband and wife. The whole word a partner is like a subconscious thing that a lot of our women have internalized, because partner actually is tied to egalitarian relationships, which means equal. But I think what you said was right, because you use it interchangeably. You said husband. At one time women were, that was just her husband. But that's a liberal framework when you hear people say partner, because it basically means that she has equal power as it relates to the authority of the husband. Now listen, it doesn't mean that a wife can't give her husband advice. It doesn't mean that sometimes the husband goes with the wife, because sometimes the wife makes better sense than the husband. But in general, the husband is the final executor of the rules made in the home and the family, because he's the leader of the home. And so Eric Spencer, I know your phone is acting up. What caused the dismantling of the Black community, and as it relates to feminism? And when you hear that word partner, what does it mean to you?
Well, I have to agree with the young lady that was saying that it's a multitude of things, but you really have to go back and look at the root of it. And there was a transition in the 60s where the opportunity was presented to Black women to choose Big Daddy government versus their men. And feminism was the leverage that they used to pry the family apart. And, a lot of people are in denial about it, but it's been historical facts. The Moynihan report is very clear as to why he could never understand that if we economically empower Black men, that the Black women would acquiesce to the man, and it didn't happen, and he couldn't understand it. And like I said, there were other things that went along with that too, but I mean, if you want to call it pot calling the kettle black, that was like one of the major things, because that was the beginning of the split. A lot of the jobs went to the Black women, and majority went to white women. And if you do your research, those jobs were meant for Black men to make the Black family whole. That was Title IX was sort of a pre-reparations to try to make us part of the community. And in turn, it was a power struggle, and white women took that opportunity to go in and circumvent our Black men at the expense of that, and we ended up getting the bottom end. So, feminism was a very powerful part. And even if you look at it now, Black women, not all, but the vast majority of them are still heavily embraced in that, whereas a lot of white women have backed off because they're starting to see that the Kool-Aid pitcher is almost empty and the ride is over. Whereas Black women are still, they got their foot on the pedal and they're going 100 miles an hour straight into a brick wall.
Right. That's true, Eric. When you hear this, I got you, Jen. 1 minute. I'm gonna let you come on, Jen, because you always got good stuff. When you hear the term, I don't cook, I don't clean. Cardi B said it. What's wrong with that statement, Dr. O? I don't cook, I don't clean. And Gene, hold your point, because I'm gonna bring you on. But I don't cook, I don't clean. What's wrong with that, Dr. O? Because listen, a lot of women are gonna call you guys, the conservative sisters or sisters with reason, they'll call you guys pick-me's. They'll say y'all are stupid for cooking for y'all husbands. But I don't cook, I don't clean. What's wrong with that statement?
Everything is wrong with it. And as y'all know, Cardi almost lost her wedding ring behind that statement. So I think it's ignorant. I think it shows you the values that, most of these young ladies have, nowadays, not putting their home first, and starting with nutrition, because, we were raised in our generation that when you cook, that's showing love. You're showing love through nourishing your family. You're showing love when you prepare plates for your family. That's all things that you do out of love. So if you're not doing the basic essentials, it's no point in you even wanting a wedding ring. It makes no sense. If you want to behave like that, I think you need to stay single. I think if there's no standards and stuff set, on us as women and us as men, I think it's no point, in doing it. And that goes in health, fitness, everything. It all goes hand in hand. If you want to be a fat slob, you be a fat slob. If you don't want to cook, you be a cook. But you don't invite nobody into that environment with you.
Right. Go ahead, Kimberly. I don't cook, I don't clean. What do you hear when you hear that, Kimberly?
Yeah, I cringe when I hear that. Years ago, my company did an event, a communications event between men and women, just to kind of bridge the gap of communication. And the question was asked, the making of the plate. And there were a lot of women that said, well, I'll make it, but he's going to have to clean up after himself. Well, he's going to make his own plate, but I'll get it from the table. And it just always seemed to be conditional. And I was the one who said I would cook it, I would make it, I would make sure he didn't have to do anything but sit there and eat and enjoy himself. That's the peace that you bring. And I was ousted and talked about and things like that. I don't care because I just don't care. But it's pretty disgusting to me that you can't have enough respect or love or honor for someone just to fix them a meal and make them a plate. Men don't want a lot. They really don't. That's why it's so perplexing to me. This is not difficult. This is not difficult at all. Yet we're pushing our men away in droves. And these same women are complaining because they don't realize their behaviors. And unfortunately, they're never going to realize their behaviors because they're programmed to think in ways that aren't conducive to building our communities.
Right. Programming, that's the word. You're right. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, program. Right. It's just disgusting, and it makes my stomach hurt. Mm-hmm. But on the upside, since I am one that does the opposite, I have a lot of respect and I have a lot of protection. I mean, my son is here now. He loves my food and I love him being here, but it's disgusting.
Right.
When I hear that.
Right. Alexandra, I don't cook, I don't clean. When you hear that word, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with it when you hear the phraseology, I don't cook, I don't clean?
I have to agree with both ladies. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, first of all, I love a clean home. I mean, there's cleanliness is heavenly to me. So anyone who says something like that is just ridiculous. And then in terms of cooking, why wouldn't you? I'm that person. I'm like, I have to stand next to you and watch you taste that first bite and enjoy it. Like, I like to feed and I like to cook and I like for my family to enjoy my cooking. I don't understand. I don't agree with it. I think it's silly. I think it's ridiculous. It's sad because this is what's being pushed to our kids, our young adults, and they're taking that as, as doctrine, sadly. And so it's up to us to kind of to change their thinking. I mean, it really is up to us to get past what social media and what the music industry and what the movies are pushing to the younger generation, because sadly, I mean, it's not just Cardi B. You hear it a lot in several different ways. So yeah, I mean, I completely disagree with it. I love to cook. I love to feed. I'm that person. I'm making your plate. I like my kitchen clean. So give me your plate. I'm cleaning it. I'm cleaning out my sink. I'm cleaning my pots. I mean, that's just the way I was raised. So yeah.
Excellent. India Kirkpatrick. Now, guys, I brought these beautiful, lovely women out here, starting with the lioness, Kimberly. She's a Leo, so I got to always give her a special privilege. But I brought all these beautiful women on this panel, guys. Listen, I love you guys. I'm not going to be begging. You ain't going to be like the begging bishop, but but please like, share, and subscribe. And if you can't donate anything, do me a favor by donate the content to this channel to at least 20 men. But it would do me a service or a favor if you guys could like, share, subscribe, and cash out $7 smalls to the bottom. Cash out $7 smalls. India Kirkpatrick. I don't cook. I don't clean. Did you cook for your man, India Kirkpatrick? Did you cook for him? Did you clean?
Oh, most definitely. When I was married, I was an Army wife.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, I was an Army wife for 15 years, so an active duty soldier. And I definitely took the traditional role very seriously during that time. And even now, as a single woman, because I work from home and I take care of my children, so I'm very domesticated just by nature. But nonetheless, in regard to that statement that Cardi B made, I mean, that's definitely a statement made in a woman that's in her masculine. And, you know, she's very sexually explicit, very sexually driven. So that's definitely the ideology of a feministic masculine woman. I think that, and also I've also heard some men say, you know, I don't necessarily need my woman to cook. I can cook myself. I can clean. I can sew my own clothes. I've heard that before. Right. And that's all fine and dandy.
Right.
But there's a difference between the nurturing that a woman provides to a man after he's, after he comes home from, you know, the stress of the world, and he just wants to leave it at his door. And once he come in, he needs that nurturing and that peace and that feminine energy that only a woman can provide. And so that's the healing that he needs from always dealing with the stress and the trauma of certain things that he deals with within life, you know?
True.
And so having that nurturing there, cooking for my, you know, if I had a husband, cooking for my husband, cleaning, ensuring that the ambience in the house is right, and that I'm always looking good for him. That's my providing an escape from the everyday stressors that he deals with in order for him to, you know, provide and to take care of home, you know, and I take pride in that. I take great pride in that. So
no doubt.
It's just to say, like, last, it's just a shame that, you know, that some women don't understand the importance of nurturing. You know, it's definitely sad. Okay.
I totally agree. No, you've done a great job, Andy. You finding your rhythm. The conscious crab, because we know, Gene, you guys, I'm gonna call you the big mouth of the north because you can talk. But the conscious crab, how did feminism impact and you know, and try to, you know, break it down, you know, without elaborating too much, but how did feminism dismantle the Black community? That's one. But when you hear the faulty sentiment, I don't cook, I don't clean. Tell me what you hear, Gene. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, the reason I was raising my hand about the feminism thing is because one thing that's not, I don't hear it spoken about a lot, but when people talk about feminism, I don't know if they know this, but the Black community was actually targeted by the FBI. Like the FBI used Gloria Steinem. They actually financed her to target Black women and indoctrinate them in feminism. That's number one. So it wasn't just that Black women gravitated to feminism. It was a conscious effort to get them involved because, you know, you see the rift that it caused in the Black community.
Right.
That's point number one. The second point is I think a lot of women would not embrace feminism if they knew the reason for feminism. Like women were, you know, pursuing equality long before the government got involved. But the only reason the government got involved, and I can send anybody who wants the video to this, the only reason the government got involved was because the Rockefellers figured out, they were like, okay, women are 51% of the population. We're not able to tax 51% of the population. Also, if we can get them in the workplace and tax them, their kids have to go to school earlier, and we can start to indoctrinate them in nationalism and patriotism at a much younger age. And that pays off with things like 9/11, when they tell people to go to war, and every excuse that they gave was false, but people still went to war and died because of nationalism and patriotism. So if people understood those things, that the government did not get involved in feminism for any positive reason. They got involved in feminism because they wanted to get women in the workplace so that they could tax them, and so that they can get your kids in school so that they can indoctrinate them in nationalism and patriotism. Okay, so done with that. The whole I don't cook, I don't clean. I mean, the way that I look at that is basically saying, you know, I don't do anything for my man or my family. You know, it's just more of the same. It's all about me. You know, I don't give anything, and I take everything.
Right.
But I don't give anything. It's a reversal if you think about it. If you think about rap songs for so many years, the guy is talking about all the stuff that women do for him, and he's got all these different women, and he gives nothing, but because he's so dope, like this, it's just a reversal. So it's very masculine. It's a lot. It's masculine energy perspective.
You know, Eric Spencer, you're very passionate. You know, I call you the Scorpio. You're very passionate. Got all these water signs up in the house. I'm going to put that hot fire on. But when a woman caters to you, I want you to tell the audience, what does it mean for a woman to cater to you? And what are you willing to give her when she caters to you?
Well, I mean, when you get that type of treatment, first of all, a lot of men in America don't know what that is.
Right.
So when they go someplace else and recognize it, you know, it's alien to them. But it's, you know, when you get that type of treatment, it's motivating because you feel like you're wanted and appreciated. And like the woman said earlier, it's like, yo, men aren't that hard.
We're not.
But you making stuff a lot more complicated because you at war with us. And when dudes go someplace and get that type of treatment, it can change their life. It really can, because they come home to peace. They come home to comfort. They come home to nurturing. They come home to recharge and whatnot, and still get all the things that they need to get, you know. But you got to fight in the streets, and I got to fight at home. You know, it kills your spirit,
right?
And you know, a lot of men they become suicidal because they can't win for losing.
Right. Yes, sir.
But when you go someplace overseas and you get that type of treatment, dude, you know, you don't want to leave.
You don't want to leave, man.
It's intoxicating.
It's very intoxicating. Kimberly McDowell, I see your hand, sweetie. How do you cater to your man? You got to go?
No, I don't have to go. I just wanted to say something. So I have experienced treating men very, very well. And it is true that a lot of men aren't used to genuine respect, if you will. A lot of men in our community, they don't know what it is. And it's pretty sad. So much so that they're suspicious. They get suspicious at times. So I just wanted to just kind of put a rubber stamp or add color commentary to the gentleman saying that they don't know what respect is. And that's pretty sad.
Well, it's the conditioning. It's also the conditioning, like Gene talked about earlier, about the FBI, you know, infiltrating the black community, making them think that the black man was the enemy. Can you guys hear me? When in actuality, he wasn't. You know, I'll tell you guys, you know, when a woman caters to me, you know, it makes me sing a little gospel song, said, I think I run on, see what the end gonna be. Think I run on. That's what happens when a woman caters to me. It gives me power. It gives me the rejuvenation to feel like I can conquer anything. But somehow, when Michelle Williams wrote the song and Destiny's Child, whatever, said cater to you, she got excoriated. What do you guys think about that, real quick, real fast? When she wrote the song "Cater to You."
Go ahead. I'll wait.
No, go ahead, Kimberly.
It takes you have to know who to cater to. You know, men bring out things in women as well, the good women. Right. If there's a man that's encouraging and a man that allows a woman to be feminine, there are a lot of men that don't allow that. They want to do everything themselves and that's it and that's that. There has to be pure reciprocity. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain type of woman that there are only certain type of women that can do that. And I think those are the ones that aren't programmed and know that a woman's value resides and a woman's power resides in her submission. Right. And submission doesn't equate to slavery.
Right.
It's like you have Kobe and you have Shaq on the court. They each play different positions. So if the coach were to go to Kobe and say, well, Kobe, you play Shaq's position in the reverse, they're not going to be as successful. Everyone has their role. And I think that's a big problem within our community. We want to take on these roles that we're not built or meant to be.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, my take on that is that when they got offended by that, first of all, they're offended years later. But that offense is directed at Black men. It's not like they're offended about the idea of catering to all men. They're offended by the idea of catering to Black men. That's what that's about. There is no if that was a woman singing about a white guy, because if you think about it, and I challenge people to do this all the time, you show me where you've seen a Black woman call a relationship between a Black man, a Black woman, and a white man, no matter how broke he is, call it struggle love. The only struggle love is with a Black man. So anything that is traditional in the way of submission and catering and things of that nature, when they push back, they're pushing back against those relationships with us, because they're spending money to try to have relationships with the other, and they're doing everything that they possibly can, and they're more than willing to cater. So it's only directed at us.
Right. Dr. McCoy, and the guys know it's getting late. I know you guys got families, so I'm gonna let you guys go in a few minutes. I really appreciate you beautiful ladies coming on. But there's been a rise in the femininity movement. But also it's been a great accusation of feminine women being called pick-me's. Is Dr. O. McCoy a pick-me? And if so, tell me why.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a pick-me. Kim is a pick-me. We're pickable women, we're the type of women, we won't ever be single for very long times. We find pleasure in cooking. We find pleasure in being pleasant. We find pleasure in helping, and assisting, Black men in all areas. I make it a point of reference. Like I said, I haven't this month, but I'll send 5 random brothers, lunch, for the month. I don't have to know them. I just put up a post, cash out me, send me a cash out. I'm going to send. You got to have the nature to love Black men in order to have that feminine energy and feminine nature in order to do it. And I think the problem with a lot of Black women is that they pick the wrong men. And when they pick the wrong men, they pull all men in there with that category that they have picked. When they choose wrong, they try to get on the Jeans or the Erics, of the world and put all of y'all in one cesspool, when in actuality, it's the type of people that these women have picked. They pick wrong. They picking meters were off. So it is what it is.
No doubt. Is India Kirkpatrick a pick-me? And if so, tell me why.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm a pick-me because I want, the guy to know my value as a woman. Like I'm a traditional woman, and he can rest assured that, hey, he's going to be taken care of. Like I'm not the type to play games. I want him to know straight up, like, this is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. And this is what I can do to make your life better, because it is in me to ensure your success, because I'm just a loving person. I'm like that with my family members, with my children, with anyone that I care about, even those that I don't even know. I like to ensure that their success, it esteems me to know that I've done my part to help someone else. So yeah, I'm a pick me. Just know that once he pick me, he's gonna thrive, definitely.
Kimberly McDowell. It's Kimberly McDowell a pick me. And also shout out to my dear friend Danielle Lockett. Danielle, if you want to come on and tell the audience why you're a pick me, please do in the next few minutes. But it's Kimberly a pick me, and tell me why.
How can you be a pick me if you've already been chosen? I don't get it. These names that people come up with just because they don't want to face their own challenges, or I swear sometimes I don't like people, but you're trying to shame me because men are attracted to my spirit. And that's not in a perverse way at all. They're just attracted to me because I don't bash them, and I listen to them, and I honor them. There's nothing wrong with that. Whoever believes that has to be crazy. Now, I understand that there are some men in our community that have challenges, just every community does.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a pick me. Yeah, I have no Mac, but I'm still a pick me. So yeah, I'll wear that proudly.
So you wear it proudly.
But I have to go, and I want to thank you all. I have a meeting to prepare for. I love you all.
Love you too, Kimberly.
Keep encouraging our men. Bye-bye.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, Kimberly. Bye. All right. We're going to shut it down in a few minutes. It's about 51 minutes after the hour, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But I want to ask the Piscean Alexandria. Is Alexandria, the Puerto Rican Pisces, a pygmy?
Firstly,
Dominican.
I'm Dominican.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dear. I'm sorry.
So I've always hated labels. I thrive in relationships. I take care of my man. I cook for him. I clean the house. I, do what I need to do. So if that's what a pick me is, and I guess that's what I am. And I have no problem with that. I mean, to me, I don't understand why a woman wouldn't want to do that for her man, for her husband. It's to me, it's a way of showing affection, showing that I care. And also, I like peace. Who wants to be at war? I'm also an artist, so I need to have my energy in my home. It needs to be peaceful. I can't be at war with my partner because it influences my creative juices. So whatever I need to do to keep the peace and to be that person to ensure that peace is kept in the home, and that everyone is in a good place mentally, psychologically, emotionally, then so be it.
Okay, real quick, Dr. O's about to leave. I know she got to leave. I'm about to shut this down in a minute. Dr. O, in less than 2 minutes, what did you get from this show? I don't cook, I don't clean. What did you get from the show, Dr. O? Real quick.
What I got from the show is that it's a lot of wounds that need to be healed. It's still a lot of misconceptions in our community as what it takes to maintain a relationship, and I think it's a lot of misinformation in our community still on what the Black man's worth is. I think his worth is a lot more than a paycheck. I'm going to continue to say that. I think the brothers are worth more than gold. We just don't value them, and I say that with everything in me. There's nothing like a brother, it's nothing like a Black man, because he's much more hardworking than a paycheck. And I want them to know that. Y'all bring order and discipline and strength to a relationship, and whatever I make or anybody make could never surmount to that. Right.
Well, listen, Dr. O, thank you. It was a pleasure. Hopefully this show will blow. I think everybody look at the basketball game tonight. And they I'm broke tonight too from buying chicken wings, paying for rent. But like I said, Dr. O, I love you. Tell your husband to say hello. And Doc, we'll do this again at some point. So India.
Yes.
Hold tight, real quick. Hold tight. India, I'm proud of you, sweetie, because you found your stride. You really found your stride. You were struggling. But see, Gene, you forgot India's a Capricorn, so she gonna always think money first. That's
I know nothing about I know nothing about signs.
I'm having fun, man.
I know.
I'll have fun. Guys, let's finish what Miss Ali was saying. Then in a minute we're gonna shut it down. But guys, once again, if you like what we're doing, like, share, and subscribe. Listen, guys, I got great plans for this show. Like I told you, I'm gonna start doing consultations, non-clinical consultations at some point. And and I'm gonna charge some good rates. As a licensed therapist, I want to empower people to look at challenge the cognitive distortion that they are having. But let's finish listen to what Miss Ali is saying. And if you like what I'm doing, Alexandra, share this show with at least 20 people that think like Alexandria. If you can't give to Cash App, share the show to 20 people. Let's get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. And also, if the Lord has blessed you, bless Bishop Kosher. But anyway, all right, hold tight. Let's finish listening to what Ms. Ali was saying. Hold tight.
To see these patterns and recognize that all that jumping up and down in church every Sunday morning ain't getting us nowhere. We ain't getting no benefit from that. It's just a play to go and let off steam, let off stress, but it's not building what we need to build. Every Black church in America should be donating money to educate 5 or 10 children in their communities. Absolutely. They have the money. Stop giving it to the preacher. He's a master pimp. Women look for a pimp. They want a man that tell them what to do. They just don't want no accountability with him. And so he's out there collecting the money up, living a high life, when the people in the community are in need. Well, it's very important right now because our birth numbers are down. And I don't know if Black people realize that. They have offered us the abortion as a form of birth control. And so a lot of our younger women, they just get 3 or 4 abortions a year and use it for birth control because they're offered to us free. They're in our communities and a lot of things. And sometimes we don't even tell the men that we are pregnant. Or sometimes we'll go around to 3 or 4 men and tell them we're pregnant and need an abortion and collect $500 or $600 from each one of them. So we've done a lot of things about that. The structure of family has been so destroyed for us. It is really very sad.
So it's obvious we got some issues in the Black community. But listen, time is of the essence. It's almost 11 o'clock. I want to, Gene, I'm gonna let you.
I want to make one more comment, brother.
I will, and make it real short, Conscious Crab.
I will.
You'll go about 12 hours, man. These folks ready to go, man.
Easily.
You must be a Pentecostal in mind, Pentecostal spirit. But real quick, and I'm gonna let everybody go. Alexandra, thank you, dear, for coming. I love your energy. I love your tenacity. I love your mercurial spirit, and also India. I love how you hit a home run. You were like the choo-choo train that said, "I think I can," but you found you finally hit a home run, India. But Conscious Crab, real quick, in less than 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I'm gonna start counting because you go up 5 hours in less than 2 minutes. How was this so beneficial? And what did you get from it?
Well, the show is beneficial just because these are things that we need to discuss and we need to hear both sides. It's like,
right.
It can't just be men always talking. We got to hear how women feel and understand, their perspectives and what they deal with also. Mm-hmm. The thing that I wanted to point out is I think it's very important for women to understand that these women who are typically calling them pick-me's, they themselves are in spaces trying to get picked, just not by Black men. You have the swirler movement, you have the divestment movement. These women have they have workshops, they have seminars, they have blogs, they have all this stuff where they're actually spending money to try to get picked by white and non-Black men. So they're calling women who want to be with Black men are pick-me's, but they're doing way more to be with white and non-Black men than the women that they're calling pick-me's are doing to be with Black men. They're just trying to meet Black men. These women are spending their money trying to meet white and non-Black men. So that the hypocrisy is just ridiculous. And women need to understand that, these people are not to be taken seriously.
Well, we're going to stop the hypocrisy, and once again, thank you, Alexandra. I'm so honored to have you. Blah blah blah. To have you in my presence tonight. I get a tongue twister. And India, thank you, dear. It's good. It's always good to have feminine energy. You know how the guys light up when they have pretty women on the when they have beautiful women on the set, man. They everything just calmed down. The blood pressure calms down. We turn to
we balance the energy. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you're a Pisces, so you're a mystic. So I know you're gonna balance the energy.
Listen, I have my amethyst around my throat all the time.
Oh.
And my chakra beads.
Oh, here she go. Here she go. So, India, what did you get from this show, dear? Thank you for coming on once again. What did you get from this show? And we're gonna shut it down in a few seconds. But India, what did you get from this show? And thank you for coming on. I'm really grateful for you sharing your insight.
And thank you for inviting me. I mean, as mentioned, I had a really rough start, but
No, it's okay.
Anyway, I'm very appreciative of hearing the male perspective of things, because it brought a lot to my attention that I didn't even really think of, and it also validated some of the thoughts that I've had when it pertained to the pathology of Black men. So I'm very glad to hear open-minded, discourse amongst my people of color, especially the Black men, because I value you guys' opinions, and so it's just a breath of fresh air. I'm glad that you invited me, and hopefully.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt. I'll definitely have you back again, because I want to bring balance. Even though my show is for men by men, but I like when women give a different perspective, and I'm willing for you guys to bring women with contrarian views, as long as they're respectful, and as long as they're not trying to usurp the authority of the Leo the Lion. Then we won't have no problems. But Alexandra, real quick, I think you told me, what did you get from the show, real fast? I think you said
I really enjoyed India and Kimberly and Dr. McCoy, and you see some women online that agree with the message, and that with what you're saying, and the rest of the gentlemen on the panel, but it was a breath of fresh air for me to see it live and interact with them live and hear them and their opinions and how they're similar to mine. So I really, really enjoyed the ladies and hearing their perspectives on everything.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, listen, we're about to sign off. It is about 1 minute after the hour of 11 o'clock. We're about to sign off. And like I said, guys, do me a favor. Please share this channel. Share the information. Let's get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. We are on the move. I got great plans for this channel. So we're about to sign off. Give me a minute. And y'all let the Lord use you as I'm about to sign off. So make sure you guys... And we go, hold tight. I know I sound like a preacher. Keep begging for money. Hold tight. Hold tight.
You are.
I am, but I'm a righteous preacher, though. But we're about to sign off, guys. Y'all be easy.
4 in the morning, you got me up, all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay, we just gotta boom bada boom ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say